Welcome to Watching the Throne.
A lyrical analysis of Kanye West.
My name is Chris Lambert.
My name is Travis Bean, and we're actually not talking about Kanye today. I know we've been talking about him a lot, but I kind of feel like I need a break from him.
You know, day 20, so much Kanye talk.
Ugh, gosh, it was draining.
Yeah, so it's nice to finally, for once, have a break.
Honestly, I'm getting full from all these treats, too.
You've been having a lot. I've meant to talk with you about that.
Oh, gosh, I'm really feeling it. Anyway, this is day 21 of the Jesus is King Advent calendar. We're counting down the days to Kanye's new album, and we got the Advent calendar here, and I got another treat to eat. It's man, I don't know. I know they're little tiny treats, but they're really packing on the pounds lately, and but Chris, give me some words of encouragement to get through this next one.
Hove!
Okay, let's reach in here. I just hope it's not. Oh God, fuck! It's an 18-ounce steak. Shit! I just ate lunch.
How's it cooked?
Oh, medium rare, and like that's being kind. It's like pretty rare.
Okay, well, medium rare is ideal for most people.
I don't know. Okay, I was already feeling kind of shitty, but the worst part is Jesus is King won't come unless we eat all the treats. So I have to finish this steak before the end of the episode.
I wish you all the luck in the world.
Okay. Well, let me set it up really quick and then I'll head in on this. We're going to be covering... This is an old topic Chris and I used to do on the show a lot. Mostly because we had too much time on our hands. And we're putting out like 2 episodes a week. We used to cover Jay-Z news because the show was called Watch the Throne. You know, it's a play on watching the throne, so it doesn't make sense to just talk about Kanye. You got to talk about Jay. So we used to talk about whatever Jay was doing out there in the world. And then eventually what happened, Chris?
Eventually, it turned out that Jay-Z had a clone of himself named Clayzy, a shortened form of Clone Jay-Z. And ever since that fateful day in 2017...
Ish, yeah.
We have followed the adventures of Jay and Clay.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. They've gone through a lot together. They had a falling out. They made up. And right now, they don't hang out much anymore. Kind of like Kanye and Jay, but like they're cool with each other.
Yeah, it seemed that Clay sided a bit more with Kanye in the Cold War between Kanye and Jay-Z. Right. I think because it was a Cold War, Clay kind of thought of Clone Wars, the Star Wars prequel movie, and was just like, all right.
Yeah, and he changed his name, spelling of his name from C-L-A-Y to K-L-A-Y, and then changed it back when him and Jay made up.
Yeah, so it's been quite a wild ride.
It's crazy, but you know what? We thought you and I are both in pretty constant contact with Jay and Clay. They kind of bother the shit out of us. We don't update the world very often, though, what they're doing. And we thought today, you know what? Let's do it. So, Chris, what do you got? You've been talking to Jay, Clay lately? Like, what's been the most interesting thing that's happened?
Okay, so my news is about Clayzy.
Okay.
He reached out, and he was kind of upset because while Jay had gotten a lot of press, some good, some bad, about his partnership with the NFL, Clay was feeling a little left out of the conversation and was actually kind of upset again with Jay because in all of the PR and conferences and speeches Jay gave, he never once mentioned Clay's involvement and Clay as the inspiration. And this is kind of a big deal for Clay because as the clone, he kind of has that little brother syndrome that Kanye kind of described on the song Big Brother, where he's just constantly trying to beat his big brother and views that as a hurdle. So for him to clearly inspire Jay to get involved with the NFL and for Jay not to recognize it and to generate all this press, Clay felt some kind of way about it. And you may be wondering, how did he inspire this? What was he doing? Did he have a partnership with the NFL? Not quite. not quite at all. It's that Clay had started partnering with Shakespeare in the Park and other Shakespeare in the Parks around the United States and Canada as well. And he had actually been consulting with them on a whole clothing line to dress the actors in Shakespeare in the Park in something that was more quote unquote fly, and that he was going to be providing new music for Shakespeare in the Park performances. Not necessarily for the show itself, but more for the intermission, the seating time, the outro when everybody's kind of applauding, and that whole time. And he's really been finding his groove. He was finding advocates to help with Shakespeare in the Park. Mm-hmm. So he had teamed up with people like Michael Cera, Natalie Portman, Idris Elba, and got them to be benefactors for this change, while also bringing in artists like Shawn Mendes and Lupe Fiasco. Yeah, Lupe fucking Fiasco. As well, lastly, but not leastly, Blake Shelton. Yeah.
Wow, out of left field there.
Yeah. He asked Carrie Underwood to be part of it.
Okay.
And Carrie had her commitments to the NFL, which is why she couldn't be part of it. And it was in that exchange where he was venting to Jay-Z about how Carrie Underwood wouldn't be part of his inspired change for Shakespeare in the Park that Jay was like, NFL, huh? And then next thing you know, he's out making a partnership with the NFL, doing almost exactly the same thing that Clay Z's doing. And Clay Z's sitting there like, well, now that I did, yeah, right? Like, nobody's reporting about Idris Elba showing up in like Cedar Falls, Iowa to do a Shakespeare in the Park.
Did Idris Elba really go to Cedar Falls?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
1,000%. Wink. You couldn't see me, but I was winking. So yeah, nobody's reporting on that. It's just Jay-Z getting Meek Mill and Meghan Trainor and Rhapsody involved in the NFL stuff. So Clay's been pretty upset, and not necessarily. Well, he's going back and forth. Like, how much can he blame Jay and how much can he?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think that's been a big step for Clay, is kind of stepping outside of Jay-Z and learning not to blame his problems on other people, and also letting Jay be his own person. You know, there's not always malicious intent with everything. Jay is just a driven businessman, and this probably seemed like an optimal decision for him.
Nice word choice with optimal.
Thank you so much.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm also wondering too. I mean, I know Clay descends from Jay. Did Jay have a background in Shakespeare that was driving Clay to this?
No, it wasn't necessarily anything. It was actually kind of a counterpoint, because Jay didn't historically have any association with Shakespeare. Clay has been trying to move into arenas that Jay hasn't been a part of and really separate himself. So the theater, as he says, has really been part of that.
So pretentious. Oh, well, that's good for him, though. I'm glad. At least he's busy. I mean, that's less texting he does with me, so.
Yeah, if you wondered about the drop-off.
Yeah, thank God, I know now. I was a little worried about him. So my news comes from Jay-Z, who, I mean, as Chris knows, he's always texting, always calling, leaving very long voicemails. And I got a really long voicemail from him the other day. And I can't play it on this show, obviously. But he was telling me about a dream he had. And he was really freaking out about this dream because he thought, like... Because, you know, like a lot of times, like, the images and symbols and things in our dreams become, like, symbolic representations of our life. And he was just, like, so freaked out by this dream he had. And he basically told me the whole dream. And I didn't ask him if it was okay to repeat that dream on here, but we're such good friends. Chris, like, you know him. Like, I think he'd be cool if we talked about it a little bit and tried to find some solutions for him.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
So Jay's walking down. It's the middle of the night, and he's walking down this street, and it's a dead, empty road, and it's kind of freakily, eerily empty. And he's walking up to a light, and it's green light, and it goes yellow, and then it goes red. So he has to stop, and he sits down in the street, and looks beside him, and there's a little tiny red seesaw. And he picks it up, and he just like naturally, without even thinking about it, starts spreading peanut butter on the seesaw. And he's just lathering it on. And then he sees a car coming from down the street, and he gets really paranoid that this car is going to see him putting peanut butter on the seesaw. So he jumps up and he runs the red light. And so on top of being paranoid about the car, seeing him put peanut butter on the seesaw, now he's paranoid because he's ran the red light. And he's walking down the street, and all of a sudden there are two little girls walking towards him. And it's like, okay, whatever at first, but as he gets closer, he sees that they're the little girls from The Shining, the twins. And they're kind of giggling at him. And he's wondering what's so funny. And then he looks down, and he's in his underwear. So he starts running. And he runs behind a target, and he catches his breath. And then he suddenly realizes like he needs to go home. He starts getting really scared, and he thinks he's going to be hurt because it's Christmas. He realizes all of a sudden it's Christmas time, and there are a lot of homeless men that hang out behind the target, and he's scared that they're going to be really lonely on Christmas and grab him and make them cuddle with him until they fall asleep. And then he woke up.
Wow.
There were other little details in there, but that was pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah. No, that's really took a turn there.
Yeah, the homeless guy thing, that was pretty fucked up.
Homelessness is a growing issue in America. And, Jay has been throwing himself into issues recently and trying to get into social change. So I could imagine that the dream is almost a stress dream about his involvement in social issues and wondering whether or not he's making the right moves in those social issues and how much people are going to view what he's doing as transgressive, or not the proper, like he's running the red light when he shouldn't be, or maybe he should be, but he's worrying about it, this NFL thing's looming large, and maybe he's been wanting to tackle the homelessness crisis, but just hasn't known how, and knows that it's going to be such an undertaking that it's going to dominate his time in a way that he might it might be the biggest undertaking of his career.
Yeah, and apparently he wants to end homelessness by Christmas.
If he could do that,
that'd be pretty
really
amazing.
Would be a miracle.
And didn't him and Bay have twins?
Yeah.
Interesting. It's almost like the twins from The Shining come to represent his fears of being a father.
Well, it's just, having twins can be a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. I think anybody that's geared up to have like one kid or like one more kid, finding out they're having two more kids, can carry a lot of weight.
Yeah, and as we've discussed in the show before, Jay is a huge fan of ankle ups. Is that what they're called? Calf raises?
Calf raises.
Yeah, that's right. He was trying to strengthen his calves. He was really paranoid and self-conscious about how skinny his calves were. So, I mean, they've blown up since. They're crazy. But he still does calf raises every day because you never really shake that. And so I kind of thinking like the peanut butter, which is usually packed of protein and important omega-3 fats, like he's using that and combining it with the seesaw, which is his child's toy. He wants to be strong enough for his future with his kids.
Sounds right to me.
Okay, stay wavy.
Keep it loopy.